You know what's funny? You screamed the truth and they covered their ears. You gave them clarity and they labeled you the problem, the villain, the unstable one. But the moment you went quiet, that's when the world around them started to fall apart. Because silence doesn't mean nothing is happening. It means everything is. It's the loudest scream no one can talk over. The most painful echo is the one that comes after you stop explaining. People don't change because you gave them clarity. They change because you gave them consequences. And when you stopped defending yourself, when you stopped pleading for them to see your side, that's when the mirror turned on them. That's when the silence started screaming louder than your words ever could. You see, trying to explain yourself to people who already made up their minds is like whispering into a storm hoping to change its path. Pointless, exhausting, dangerous. You weren't being ignored because you were wrong. You were being ignored because your truth held them accountable. They weren't confused. They were comfortable. Comfortable in their disrespect. Comfortable watching you bleed emotionally while they stayed clean. Your honesty didn't confuse them. It convicted them. And conviction, that's something the guilty run from. You gave chances. More than they deserved. You thought if you loved hard enough, stayed loyal long enough, explained clearly enough, they'd finally get it. But you weren't talking to people who couldn't understand. You were talking to people who refused to. People who used your kindness as a doormat and your voice as background noise. And then you stopped talking. No warnings, no breakdown, just silence. And that silence, it became a storm they couldn't escape, because there's nothing more haunting than the absence of someone who once fought to be heard. They wanted a show, a meltdown, a final scene so they could frame you as the unstable one. But instead you gave them stillness, calm, cold detachment. You stopped explaining, stopped reacting, and that's what shook them. You weren't retreating, you were evolving. They thought you'd always be there, that you'd always explain away the hurt, always try to fix what they kept breaking. But love has limits, and effort, it isn't infinite. There comes a point where you realize trying to make someone understand you shouldn't come at the cost of destroying yourself. That's where your silence came from. They didn't notice when your laughter started sounding hollow, when your voice lost its warmth, when your replies became shorter, colder, distant. They only noticed when there were no replies at all. They didn't see the cracks. They ignored them. And now they're stuck replaying every moment in their heads. Now they're haunted by memories they used to take for granted, wondering how they missed the signs, wondering how they let you slip through their fingers without even hearing the door close behind you. But you didn't leave in rage, you left in clarity. You didn't slam the door, you just stopped opening it, quietly, powerfully, without apology. And now your absence speaks volumes they'll never be able to mute. Now they tell stories to justify themselves. You changed, they say. You grew. You evolved beyond what their chaos could contain. You stopped setting yourself on fire to keep people warm, who wouldn't even offer you a spark in return. And they felt that shift, the coldness in your calm, the power in your silence. Because silence isn't weakness. It's strategy. It's the final word they can't interrupt. You didn't go silent because you had nothing left to say. You went silent because they no longer deserved to hear it. Now they scroll through old messages, searching for the warmth they used to ignore. They sit in rooms filled with noise, yet feel the emptiness you left behind. That voice they mocked. It's the one they crave now, that presence they took for granted. It's the one they can't replace. They call it silence. But to you it was peace, a peace rebuilt brick by brick while they were busy laughing at your pain. A peace that didn't need validation. A peace that didn't beg to be understood. And the cruelest part, they heard you all along. They just didn't care, until the silence forced them to. Until your absence turned their comfort into confusion. Until your silence held up a mirror to everything they didn't want to face. Now they feel powerless, because you didn't just walk away. You vanished from their emotional reach. You became untouchable, not because you built walls, but because you outgrew the room entirely. They thought your silence meant defeat, but it was the sound of you winning. Quietly, sharply, permanently. You weren't just a chapter. You were the whole damn story. The calm and the storm, the spark and the wildfire. And now, they're stuck staring at the reflection of their own destruction, realizing they were the reason you stopped explaining. They used to laugh when you cried. Now they cry in rooms where your laughter no longer lives. They used to call you dramatic when you pleaded. Now they plead with ghosts in their mind that won't answer back. Because silence is what happens when growth meets finality. And they'll talk. Oh, they'll talk about how you walked away for no reason, about how you changed overnight. But you know the truth. You walked away with every reason, and you did it without a scene. No last fight, no final scream, just a quiet closing of the chapter they never expected to end. Now they sit with their guilt, replaying their actions, haunted not by what you said, but by everything you didn't. Because silence from someone who used to fight to be heard, that's not emptiness. That's power. That's presence. That's a lesson they'll never forget. If you're ready to protect your peace, reclaim your power, and stop explaining yourself to people who never deserved your voice, comment yes and subscribe. This is your quiet revolution, and it starts now.